Greetings everyone. Today I want to speak something near and dear to my heart, and that's how to age with less fear. You know, I'm on this journey along with all of us other seniors and older people. I'm 65, soon be 66 before too long. And it's a journey, there's no doubt. And I have a lot of tips. I've watched people for 43 years in my career go from young to old and middle-aged to very old, and obviously sometimes dying in the process. But we do have a lot of fear as we age. And the three parts to this conversation have to do with the sickness fear / death. The second is lack of mobility, and the third is loss of memory. And I want to speak to all three of those if we can. Well, as far as sickness, I want people to know that the way to overcome fear to the best that we can is to create knowledge and wisdom and courage. Courage will help to nullify the fear. Without courage, the fear is going to be taking us over day and night. So we have to be people who learn, and we have to step outside the box sometimes, because the normal traditional conversations are not really feeding us very well about massive medications and nursing homes and all the things that they're going to be offering us. That's not what I'm looking for. I want optimal health, the best that I can get, and I want to have a lot of self-care and not a lot of toxic living to help support all that. Well, it was very interesting when I was doing research to speak on this video. There was a study that showed that people who have whole life insurance policies died at 1/3 the rate of normal people. Now, they ended up dying down the road, of course, but their sickness level and their illness and their chronic diseases were so much less than the average population. Why is that? They invested in themselves. If they're willing to have a whole life insurance policy, they were most likely willing to exercise and take nutrients and eat healthier and do the right things. This body wants to be healthy. It wants to live a long time. We kind of had destroyed it through our habits and the brainwashing of the media and the food manufacturers. And we don't need to do that. We need to be people who learn and then take steps in the right direction. So know that sickness does not mean that it's inevitable. Now, when I say sickness, I mean chronic sickness, not the flu and the colds and the things. Those are going to come and go. But the chronic things that take us down, those are manageable. They're much more preventable than we are being told they are. And of course, a lot of this has to do with nutrition. Big part of it. Sleep, another big part. Exercise, that's the other part. I believe in a diet of eating high protein and moderately high healthy fat. I only eat beef, and I eat eggs, and I eat fish, and occasionally chicken. I'm not a chicken eater due to multiple reasons that I could explain later, but it is very important that you put together a plan for your long-term health with nutrition. We came up with a plan called the Core 4 for supplements, so it makes it easy. This covers every single component I've ever witnessed in people over the past 40 years in most regards, and you can just Google Core 4 on nutritionw.com and learn about the plan that I think is easy for everybody if they don't want to think about supplementation. Well, the next is lack of mobility. Hey, I come and go with some hip issues. Came out of the clear blue, don't know why. Probably overexercise was part of the trigger, but it can be very, very frustrating. Why do we start to lose mobility? Well, in between the joints is cartilage and these cells called chondrocytes, and those cells basically dry out. And when they get more or have less moisture, what happens? They have more friction. Friction causes discomfort and pain. So what can we do about that? We can, again, practice a lot of the nutritional safe habits and take supplements and things. But the main thing is we can put some type of supplements in that put moisture back in, kind of like oil in your car. And they're joint support things, and they're very safe. They usually work pretty well. They're not going to fix everything, but they help to maintain some less friction, which means you can feel better and you have the ability to be more mobile. Now, I think a lot of us, sometimes when we don't feel well, we don't exercise. Well, guess what? We're going to rust out way before we wear out. And so even with pain, we need to be active. We need to have exercise. We need to have movement. We also need to be hydrated. A lot of us are dehydrated, and drinking enough clean water is very, very important. So as far as mobility, keep up the exercise, do the right habits as far as your diet, and take joint support if your health is and your doctor says it's okay. If you have medical conditions, check with them, but it's very safe. Last one, which is probably could be the bigger one of all, loss of memory. Loss of memory is devastating, of course, because that is who we are. And we can't communicate with and remember stories and lives and people. That is very frightening. If we live to be 120 years old, we're going to have it. It seems to be one of the parts that does, go away with a certain amount of years. But it shouldn't be happening at 50 and 60 and 70, maybe not even at 80. There are people who have perfect memories at 80. So what did they do, or what do they have that the people at 55 who are losing their memory? Well, a lot of it is potentially genetics, but we can act on genes. Genes are not so hardwired that we can't do something about it. What is that something? Sleep is a big one. Learn how to sleep well again without drugs, because the drugs are part of why we're losing our memory. The polypharmacy of today is very worrisome to me, because a lot of those have memory problems associated with the drugs. Everything from acid blockers to muscle relaxants, all these bladder drugs, they all reduce the ability of the brain. You need to find people. We have an integrative physician here, Dr. Brian Johnson. Find people on your team who understand the side effects of these drugs. These drugs are wonderful short run, they're terrible in long run. So loss of memory, again, is making sure you're sleeping well and also supplementing. There are a host of really good, credible supplements that can help maintain the neurons in the brain. One is omega-3. Lion's mane. I love lion's mane. It's a mushroom. We definitely can see some differences in that, plus many other things that you can learn about. Be a learner. That's how we're going to put this plan together. But again, try to take the core 4 if you're not taking supplements. Try to make sure your sleep is very adequate. Exercise, being hydrated, and use your brain. We need to really do CrossFit in the brain area. That means you don't just do one single thing to stimulate it. You do many things like socialize with new people, do crossword puzzles, learn to dance, read some other things that are outside of your scope. That is what the gym does when you do CrossFit, and that's what we can do mentally. Thank you, people. Make sure we know that you can take control of your health, because if you don't, probably something else will. And just hope alone is not enough. We need hope, we need wisdom, and we need a team that you trust to put together a plan as we age gracefully, which is what I'm going to do. Thank you.